Hi everybody, this is Bonnie Hunter with try number 2 from the basement. We tried to do Quilt-Cam just a bit ago, but there was a problem with the audio. So hopefully it's working better right now. At least I hope so. I'm live to you from Winston-Salem, North Carolina, and we are working on some Box Kite blocks tonight. You probably saw me working on those when we had no audio. Now I'm trying to figure out why the screen is so dang big. I'm just having really a tough time tonight, but we'll do the best that we can. So if you can hear me, somebody please let me know. Don't everybody please let me know. I had more than 47 comments telling me that you couldn't hear me, but there was nothing that I could do about it at the time but start a new broadcast. So we're just going to sew here for a minute. Maybe something will come in. You know, the technical difficulties are sometimes a problem, and we do the best that we can with them. So I am sewing tonight. I don't even know if you can see me because the screen looks so huge on my 1950s brother machine. And it's just a sweetheart of a machine. And I'm working on 2 blocks at the same time, using each one as the leader and the ender for the other. And we will just pretend, even if everybody left and didn't come back, that everybody is out there watching what's going on. That's okay. I'm going to get some sewing done regardless. And if I end up just talking to myself, well, that's nothing new. Let's see what this says here. Refresh. I started a new feed. Please let me know. The biggest problem is probably that people won't think to refresh the feed. So we're just going to sew here for a minute. Mails are coming in. "42 mails telling me, yeah. I can hear you fine just now. Thank you, JK. That tells me that things are great. So we have audio, and although my camera angle seems to be really kind of crazy right now, it's bigger than it's been ever, and my head is halfway chopped off from this camera. Sometimes I just really hate computers. I really, really hate computers. But this is the block I'm working on. Those who can't hear me are probably still on the old feed, and they need to refresh the page because I re-edited the page with a new feed. So refresh, start new. I did post the new feed to Facebook, and hopefully people will find us. If not, maybe they'll check the archives. I had a lot of fun while up at the cabin going through donated scraps that came in boxes from other people. And this is one of those that it looks kind of like a bandana, and there's a big belt buckle that goes right through it. So right now, I'm just overwhelmed with the amount of emails coming in saying that they can't hear me. But the problem is, with those emails coming in, I can't find the ones I really need to reply to. So, but I know people will keep emailing. And we just do the best that we can. If everybody would just refresh the page, we'd be good. I've lost the triangle. Oh, here it is. Okay. So we can rest now. Everything's working fine. And my brain gets all amped out. You know, it's not easy to plan for Quilt-Cam and to get everything set up and to get the room ready and to get the computer ready and the project ready and then have something not work like this. You know, I'm down here in the basement by myself. I know just enough about computers to get myself into serious trouble, and we just do the best we can. So here's this one with little stripes. It's kind of got a light pink background. That fabric's been hanging around since the first time I vended at Quilt Market about 20 years ago. All right, we got more messages. Yep, thank you. Mary Willis says it's working now. Thank you. Mary, thanks for leaving your comment. Would you please write another comment for everybody to just refresh the page? If they refresh the page, the new feed will be on there and we will be good to go. The dumb thing is that until you click broadcast, there's nothing that tells you your microphone's not working. You never know. You just kind of hope and you pray that everything's going well, and bingo, you end up looking like an idiot. I guess I should be used to that by now. Loud and clear from Marcia. April says, Quilt-Cam, I'm here. Quilt-Cam up and running in Kentucky, so we are good. Awesome. So this one is from Marcia, who says coming in loud and clear. I'm so sorry about that, everybody. April says, tried you on my iPad when it first started. It had no sound, but I didn't think it was you. It was. But if anything happens, that's why I put up the message, give me 5 minutes. April's got a brand new house, and she is sharing, wow, April, she's got a brand new island for her cutting in her brand new basement sewing studio that she's going to just really love. That looks fabulous. I love to see the blocks on the wall too, April. All right, we want to go back. And then this one's from Kim, who says refresh your page, folks, and you will get the feed properly. Yep. Okay, thank you for that. Material Girl says, I'm here and there is sound on my computer. Yay! Jackie says, please refresh your web page and then it will work for you. Fabulous. Thank you, everybody. Erin says, I can hear you now. Okay. We can all hear me now. Are you working with me tonight? I hope you are. You know, if we can't laugh, what can we do? Seriously, it's just one of those crazy things. So my plan is I am leaving for Alaska on Wednesday morning. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That won't do it. I need 6. Where is it? Oh, it's down here. You guys really got me discombobulated. And I counted. You know, I've been working while I've been on the road for what feels like the past couple of years on these flying geese strips. They're just scrappy little geese all in a row, and they're for a project I can't show you yet, because it's a future book project, and I only need 11 more to have done what I need done, and I'm really excited. And then I thought, oh shoot, I can finish those 11 in just a couple of days or a couple of evenings after workshops, and I'm going to be gone from Alaska all the way to Buffalo, New York, and then home. So I'm going to be gone a good close to 10 days, I think. And then I go again a few days later to Michigan. So I have my project, all of these blocks, all in this little baggie, and now I'm thinking, maybe this isn't enough to take with me. What else can I take? Because this is what I've done so far, and I'm not sure how many are in here. I need to count those. I've just been zoning out on these. Once the block parts are all cut and ready to go, I don't need to think about it. I just sit and do it. So I've got here more Ziploc baggies. Yeah, these are my lozenges are all coming together. This bag right here is the bag that's going to get the light corners sewn on those. And then this one these are ones that have not been sorted into light and dark yet. So I've been, if there was 2 rectangles of the same fabric, I've been doing one in dark and one in light. If it was a fabric that the black corners wouldn't show up on, it automatically went into the light pile. I got all of my blacks cut, and I've got quite a few black and white 2-inch squares in this box too. So my life is in Ziploc baggies. And I'm trying not to overload my suitcase, which can't go over 50 pounds. And I'm just finger pressing, and I do remove dog ears. Because heaven forbid I end up without a piecing project while I'm on the road, because that's the only way these next book quilts are going to get done. Okay. Now, when I first turned on the Quilt-Cam the other time, the camera was not this much zoomed in, and it seems to be very zoomed in, and I doubt you can see what I'm doing here. But you know what? With the kind of snafus we've had tonight, I think we're going to just have to take what we've got and deal with it. I'll show you the blocks as they are being worked on as they come out of the machine, but you may not be able to see what I'm laying down here because I don't dare mess with anything on the screen after that microphone snap. Okay, so I've got these laid out here. And I'm going to snip this block off because I've gone as far as I can with that one. So I'm working on 2 blocks at a time, using each one as the leader ender for the other, and I can just keep these blocks coming through. It's basically a 9-patch, sewn together just like a 9-patch. And oh, the number of 2.5-inch strips that went into these that I was able to use up. Just fun all the way. All right, there's that one missing triangle. This little bandana fabric came in one of those little gifty bags that showed up on my doorstep or was given to me by a guild. And I'm really thrilled with the way that it cut up. So I've got this blue bandana fabric up here and the red bandana fabric up here, and there's a good old cowboy belt buckle going across. The crazier the fabric combos, the better. I like them. Okay, let's see. Hopefully we've got everybody where they can hear now. Karen says your hair it's working and your hair looks good. Oh, thank you. Since I met with Karen for lunch today and it was raining, and so I didn't bother to do anything to it. So yes, we did something to it before Quilt-Cam started. So even though we didn't have audio, I had fabulous hair. And then this one, she also says, write a sign that says refresh. Yes, refresh, everybody. Back to the inbox here, which there is 64 people. Some might need a sign. Said, so glad you're patient. Working on your Carolina quilt using Riley Blake roly-poly. Lights are bitty dots. Darks are brighter, splotchy roly-polies. That sounds really cute, and that's from Janny D. This one's from Barbara, who's talking about her vintage machine, and she says, I had this machine serviced more than 15 years ago and just opened it up today. It sews good. I need to find info or a manual online. I'm thinking it's in 1920s by the numbers, anxious to start using it. By the size and by the model there, the decals, I'm guessing it's a Singer 99. It's a 3/4 size machine. Workhorse. Very, very nice machine. You'll love it. Okay, this one's from Julianne, who says, hey Bonnie, Julianne from Northern California, so great to see you on Quilt-Cam. I finished my spiderweb quilt top. It's scrapalicious deliciousness. It's fabulous, girlfriend. I am not kidding. I have to send you a picture. Yes, please send the picture. Thanks for an awesome pattern. Still working away on Wild and Goosey blocks. Oh, I love those too. I need to do something with those. They're just sitting in another, probably in another couple Ziploc bags around here. Okay, Peter and Susie says, got a bucket that will more than keep me busy tonight. Sorting them according to your system and just got more adventures with leaders and enders. Here's to a few more quilts in my near future. Thank you for all you do. And she's showing, oh, a humongous deep stash in that old Rubbermaid tub. That's going to be fun. The variety that's in there. I would love to dig. What is that that's on the top? They look like, are those frogs? I think those are frogs. That would be my first choice. I'd put those in right away. Okay. This one is from Kim, who says, thanks so much for your advice today on my upcoming purchase of a featherweight. Now I am going to run up and work on a signature quilt for a great leader of volunteers at the hospital where I volunteer. Thanks for all you do. Take a deep breath and relax. It's not so hard. It's not, it is so hard. It is so hard to relax when stuff is just not going right and you want it to be smooth sailing. It's what they call grace under pressure, I guess. I have no grace. None. Kim, I hope you find the featherweight of your dreams. I just think that one that they were telling you, you know, when somebody says mint, they better know what they're talking about, because mint means just as if it came off the line and has never been used. No speck of dust, no pin scratches, no musty smell, no crazing of the finish, no chips, no anything. It's got to be showroom fresh if it's going to be mint. So I think that price was a little bit high, and I think you can find one for better. Just keep looking. And if you're really sure that you have to have one, the year of your birth, you know, maybe it would be worth paying that. You know, your search would be over if you just bought that one, but I think you could have almost 2 machines for that price. Okay? All right. Here is, oh, how pretty. This is Susan Crane in Lexington, South Carolina, who says, glad you got the sound fix. You look great, and don't be upset. Take a deep breath. Love the machine. I'm sure you told us what it was. It's a 1950s Brother, and I've sewn on it the last few Quilt-Cams only because I was too lazy to switch it out, because my seam guide is where I need it to be, and I'm already working on these blocks. I would have to make a new seam guide and set up the next one. So I've left this one here for now. I was feeling pink. I really wanted to pull out one of the pink ladies. But we'll sew with this one for just a while. She says, I am still hand quilting my Celtic solstice tonight. I am determined to get it done by the next mystery. I can't wait to start it. And here's her picture, if I can get it to biggie size. She's got it in her hoop, and she's just a hand quilting away. Weren't those fun colors to work with? I just loved working with those colors. This year's colors are going to be great, too. Okay. This one is from Wendy Bain, who says, I can hear clearly now. She says, sewing 14-inch strips together for backing an antique Burgoyne surrounded. It's my turn next in the hand quilting group. How awesome. So everybody will help you quilt that Burgoyne surrounded, and then when that's done, everybody helps quilt somebody else's. I think that's fun. Keep those old-fashioned quilting bees going. Andy says, got Quilt-Cam going. I'm working on a blue Scrappy Mountain Majesties, and Kathy is working on her Wanderlust blocks. So Kathy and Andy are busy in Arizona. Hopefully you guys have not been affected by that flooding that's going around Phoenix. Was thinking about you guys when I saw the photos. Floating cars. Pretty scary stuff. Noni says, another travel question for you. Planning to go to Colorado in November and want to bring my featherweight. Don't want to check it after your bad experience. Do you think it will fit under my seat? Nani, that's the whole problem. I did not check that featherweight. It fit in my carry-on that's supposed to go under the seat in front of me, but the space was taken. There was no room in the overhead, and they did a mandatory gate check. What happened was they had put me next to a guy who was traveling with his kids and his wife, and they were in the next row, and he was here, and his big duffel with all the stuff for the kids and the kids' medications and whatever took up most of the space under our 2 seats. My bag wouldn't fit because of his bag, and because he was traveling with the kids, his bag took priority for under the seat space. and they made me pass my bag forward and gate checked it, and that's when my machine got trashed. I do not fly with a machine anymore, because even though your bag will fit under your seat, there's no guarantee that you won't have to gate check it anyway. So fly with a machine at your own risk. I know some people do. Just be sure that you have a bag that will fit. And I don't give bag advice anymore, because the one bag that I have, the Rick Steves Rolling Tote, they changed the model. And it used to have a little bit wider bottom so the featherweight fit. They made it slimmer so that it would fit in the new shallower overhead bins, so the featherweight won't fit that bag anymore. And I haven't looked for another bag to replace it, because the one I have still works good. So at your own risk, dear, really at your own risk, borrow a machine if you can instead of flying with one. Okay. All right. Kim Andrews says Minnesota's checking in. Supposedly snow coming our way soon. Oh, it's that 4-letter word. Best time to sew, she says. Any suggestion how to determine prices on featherweights? Planning to sell an extra one? Check eBay. Check the prices on the sold ones. Find one that's a similar condition to yours and a similar year to yours. And when all else fails, try Google. Okay. Sue says, first time viewer, finally got sound. Sorry about that, Sue. You tried to get us on a night when we were audio impaired. I'm glad that it's working. Mr. and Mrs. C say, Betsy here. Always love Quilt-Cam and the great info you give us. I can now hear you. We had the entire world thinking that something was wrong with their computers, not with mine. She says, I'm attaching a picture of a string star quilt top that I just finished. I am looking for suggestions for how to quilt it. I will be doing it on my domestic machine. Any suggestions would be greatly appreciated. And I'm going to pop up her picture right here so you can see what it is. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And, you know, if you're doing it on your domestic machine, the one thing I know about strings, they're busy. You've got a lot of fabric stuff going on, and I think that a meander or a loop-de-loo or something like that, or a little loopy-loo with a little leaf on it, you can cover a multitude of sins, especially if you've not done any machine quilting before. My suggestion would be to start with something small. Make a quilt sandwich with an extra reject block and some backing and some batting and whatever, and you can make yourself a table topper or whatever, but practice, practice, practice. That is just beautiful. I love the colors. One more. Kevin says, hi Kevin, says, I can hear you now. Great job. I wouldn't have a clue as to how to do what you do with all your social network savvy. Like I said, it's just enough to get me in trouble. It was a pleasure and a dream come true meeting you in Illinois last week. Me too. That was just so fun. Seeing your Santa Fe string star in person really lit a fire in me to finish my version. Thanks for all you do. Well, I'm glad that we are back on board here. And you know what? Those who tuned in late, they won't even know that we didn't have sound. Those who tune into this one, because you can bet, as soon as I get to YouTube, I am deleting the first version of tonight's Quilt-Cam. It was a bomb. Okay, so I am sewing. I'm doing my columns together, chain piecing style. I don't think that half square triangle was very square. Oh boy. It's been my day for faux pas, really. Okay, let me press this one. Stripes. Stripes are a lot of fun. Isn't that great? Box Kite. You'll find it in my Addicted to Scraps column. Okay, so I've gone as far as I can go on that one right now. I want to show you guys something. This is a silver metallic jelly roll pen. See if I can get the name up to the, I don't know if it'll focus or not. Maybe not, maybe not. Anyway, Michaels. in the scrapbooking aisle. You can find these. You can get them in white too. I like the white and the silver. I have finally found something that marks on very black fabric. Can you see my line on there? I'm drawing my lines for my lozenge blocks. What I like about the jelly roll is it does not bleed through the fabric. It's supposed to be permanent. Whether it's permanent or not doesn't matter as long as it doesn't bleed through. It leaves a very fine line. It's easy to draw on the fabric, so it's smooth rolling, and I can see my lines. So I used two things, marking light. If it's very, very light fabric, this will also show up on light fabric. If it's medium-ish, kind of like this, it's black on one side, but kind of mottled. You know, it's kind of, yeah. It doesn't show so well on that, but the black Pigma does. So these are the two things that I'm using to mark my lozenge squares from my leaders and enders. Silver jelly roll. Awesome sauce with all the sauce. Okay, so we'll get these going. I am just putting this 2-inch square in the corner of my lozenge, and I'm going to sew from this corner here and off here. This one will be pressed toward the yellow. I'm going to press this corner and this corner down here toward the yellow. This corner and this one will be pressed out towards the black triangle, so that you will have 2 in and 2 out, and that way they will always nest to each other. But you do the ones that press under towards the yellow first. And I like to sew right next to that fine line, so that the line is my fold line, not my stitching line. Okay, we're still working in Bandana Town here. Okay, so now that leader ender's under there, I can assemble, adding the 3rd piece onto each row of this block. So you can choose. Do you want to, whoops, nope, I turned that the wrong way. Do you want to do lozenges in between every block part, or do you want to work on 2 blocks of the kite blocks at a time? So it just depends on how fast you want to go. I've been really wanting to get the lozenges a lot closer to being done, so I've been kind of pushing those through. If I'm just sewing on lozenges, so the block stays there, here comes the lozenge. And I like to press this under first because that gives me a good crease to press there. And once I'm sure I've got it creased, then I can slip my scissors under there and snip. Now the only time I would save these little guys is if I were still working on Pineapple Crazy, which I'm not. I'm daring to dispose. Okay, so now I'm going to do the other bottom corner. Okay, now these 3 are all connected. I'm going to press them out. I do a lot of finger pressing when I'm sitting at the machine. I'll press the main block once the block's assembled, but when it's still little bits and parts, I feel like we can overpress. You don't need to steam a little itty-bitty tiny triangle that's not wrinkled. Make sure that seam allowance goes the right direction, and I can feel those nests. You notice, I'm sure, that I'm not a big pinner. Never have been, never will. When it gets to the point where I need to match points, though, I do. If it's a straight nested seam, I'm pretty good at just eyeballing. Okay, so we've got 2 opposite corners on. These 2 are pressed towards the yellow. You can see the seam allowance here is towards the yellow. The next 2 will press out towards the black. And I took some time before we were going to just draw lines on a few of these squares. Okay. One more seam and this one's done. And then this comes off. And I don't use an add-a-quarter ruler. I figure I can eyeball that. What matters is where the seam is. So now you can see. This one is pressing out towards the black. This one is pressed under towards the yellow. And when you put these next to each other, they'll be opposing. So they're going to nest really nicely. Let me sew this one. Yeah, pretty good. So here we have a modern florally background with this bandana and belt buckles print and some space planets in the center. Love. Okay. And then we just pull the next set up. I really love having these all cut. If I were going on a quilt retreat or something like that, I would want everything just cut out as much as possible so that I can just sit and make good use of the time that I've got. Okay, I'm going to send these 6 through, and then I'll take some calls. We've got our 6 triangles to go through here. I'm really worried about any of our listeners who may be in the Phoenix area. I know there's a lot of flooding going on down there right now. I've got family in the area, so I'm thinking about you. One more. Okay, and this leader is done. Press this one out towards the corner. Once I've got it all sewn, then I will give it an iron press. And then this adds the pile of the 400 plus other ones going on. Okay, we're going to check in. I feel like we're on a roll now. All the way to Andy, who says, I'm also working on lozenges. The cutoff triangles work perfectly for my wild and goosey paper piecing too. We are safe here in Arizona, but the end of our street is the only way out, and it's flooded. Still, what is a girl to do? I stayed home and sewed. Okay, as long as the power stays on, the flooding eventually will dissipate. I know what happens is that the ground can't absorb it fast enough, and it just floods out there. Donna says, thank you for my birthday present yesterday. I asked my husband to order the Leaders and Enders book from you, and your signed copy was in my gifts yesterday. Well, you have a very, very sweet hubby who would do that for you, so happy birthday to Donna. Here's Joe's quilts for Aussie Heroes, she says. She says, I'm making these quilts for the guys on deployment. This was my way to say thank you. I'm working on the pool table one today as I watch and listen to you. Oh, that is so cute. So it looks like a pool table. So she's got the pool table and the cues and the billiard balls there. Can you see that? So that's what she's working on. And then there was another one that says, it's the Ninja Turtles. And it says, Cowabunga, dude. That's really cute, Joe. Thanks for sharing those. I know that they're going to love those. Donna Fisher says, little guys triangles. The lozenge cutoffs are perfect for wild and goosey. Yeah, but my wild and goosey blocks are done. You know, and the thing is that you get to the point where you can't save it all. You just can't save it all. I've got Rubbermaid bins after Rubbermaid bins of saved triangles and little bits and crumbs and parts and pieces and stuff like that. And I'm happy to let some of this stuff just, I know it's bad. I know it's bad. I should probably put them in a Ziploc bag and offer them up as a giveaway, right? Right. Okay. Then we have Soccer taxi! This is Beth in Arizona also, who says, I'm cutting out 2 different blue and orange quilts for my son and his roommate, freshman, at Wheaton College. I was so excited for Quilt-Cam tonight, I put a cork trivet on a still hot burner. Well, I guess that I'm not the only one with a faux pas night. It still stinks in my kitchen. No submerged cars in my neighborhood in Phoenix, but we have a nice pond in the backyard. Thanks for Quilt-Cam. So that's Beth. Glad to know it. Linda Ashley says, so sorry I can't hear you tonight. Linda, you just need to refresh your feed. I'm going to tell her. Sorry, guys, I'm telling her. Refresh your computer. I started a new feed. A new feed. Gosh, I really love the droid. I've typed that once already, so it comes up in my options, and all I have to do is tap each word. I started a new feed, and it was there. Okay. So hopefully she'll be able to come back. Sorry. If they don't come back, then we'll just tell everybody tomorrow that, okay, if you left because there was no sound, here's the archive. Jen Hinwood says, from Utah, you look marvelous. She says, I needed to make a baby quilt with coral green and purple, so adapted the Puss in the Corner rendition of Baby Camp from Love from Camp Grabbit. That's awesome. She said, I love it. We'll put soft minky on the back. Tonight I'm working on more little monkey blocks. I had lots of Civil War fabrics cut up. And oh, that looks so great. And the green minky's hanging right next to it. Look how cute that is. I absolutely love this. I'm going to save this, Jen, to show people what they can do, that they don't have to do it in black and red and gold the way that my quilt is. And they can make it other sizes. That turned out so super cute. I'm going to save that. Mary says, had to go pick up my hubby from work. It was working when I got back, doing my frogging on a border. I decided to add another color for a kicker between borders. Glad you took the day to have Quilt-Cam. I am too, because it's going to be a crazy train the next couple of weeks. So hopefully we'll be able to do Quilt-Cam again before the end of the month. Kathy says, sorry if it's a duplicate, but here is the picture of my Orca Bay. Oh, it's lovely, Kathy. She's got it laid, that's her Orca Bay from String Fling laid out on the floor. Anytime I see Orca Bay, I think of Alaska. And I'm going to Alaska. It still hasn't kicked in. Luckily, to get to Ketchikan from here, I fly from Greensboro to Detroit, Detroit to Seattle, Seattle to Ketchikan, so I get to bypass Anchorage altogether. Hallelujah. Yep, and this one is from Wendy Bain, who says, yes, we really sit around a quilt frame, and here is the picture of her Burgoyne surrounded. I would so love that. When I was in London, or in England, for the Birmingham Quilt Festival, they had, in a couple of places, donation quilts that were going to be raffled off, and you could sit and hand quilt, and they had the quilting designs marked out in the alternate blocks and stuff, and you could sit and hand quilt, and when my feet got tired walking around, I sat and I hand quilted, and I usually wear my thimble when I'm traveling anyway, since it clips to my necklace, so off comes the thimble, grab the needle and the thread, and away we go. I just love it. Oh, that is just beautiful. 2 fabrics only, kind of a peachy pink and a gray. Kind of a corally gorgeousness. Okay, Kathy Mackey says he's a keeper. Hi, he's from Kathy in beautiful Victoria, BC, working on a Thangles project tonight while watching you, and having my supper made by my hubby so I can quilt with you. He's definitely a keeper, as not only does he make meals, but just last week he gave my 2 vintage singers a maintenance. Enjoy your trip to Alaska and safe travels. The real question is, Kathy, does he do the dishes? Cute. Okay, one more. Another I want to sew. Yay, Janet! She says, I'm working on Box Kite blocks too, and some Carolina chain, and a few Wild and Goosies thrown into the mix. So let's see if I can turn this sideways. Will the picture turn? Nope. So there's her Box Kite blocks, some Wild and Goosies, and a couple of Carolina chains. The girl's a scrapper after my own heart. Very cute. Okay, so I've got these 6 gone through now. And I need to get these out so I can press them. So we're going to grab another lozenge. As I was cutting scraps down into the 2-inch squares, I had an angled part of a strip that wouldn't allow me to get a full 2-inch square out. But here's where one of the corners is, so it would come up and come across. As long as I still have these 2 corners intact and I'm drawing my diagonal line, I'm just going to sew by the line. I don't need to have that full square out there. So we're just going to line that up. And once that's trimmed, it'll be gone anyway, right? Okay. We'll get these pressed. Being under the gun as far as needing to get X number of quilts done for the next book by my deadline and stuff like that, and still at the same time wanting to have things that I can share with you and things that you can work on too. I'm really glad to have these Addicted to Scraps column blocks that we can work on. Each and every one of them that I have done for my column, I have wanted to turn into a full quilt. They're fun blocks. I love working on the blocks. They just need to be real quilts. So that's what I'm going to be working on for the next little while. I also need to do a baby quilt for a baby boy that will be born in January to my brother Michael and his wife Nicole. They are the parents of baby Elizabeth, who's now 3 and going to preschool. So this is their second baby. And Auntie Bonnie loves making baby quilts, so that will likely be something that will end up under the free patterns tab. Okay, so we've got these, kind of a bandana. It's another one. This one didn't have the belt buckles, but I think that was from the same fabric collection or quilt or something. It's really fun to dig into other people's scraps and guess where this came from. Okay. Once you've got the triangles made, assembling the box kite block is as simple as putting together a 9. Okay, so this is one of the ones that goes under. And then we'll trim it. Whoops. And we'll add another one to the opposite corner. If I were really smart, I would take all of my 2-inch squares with me and just trace the lines on the plane. But I think I'd rather work on hexes. Can you just see me having all those squares and my little seat tray down and just marking squares? The people would probably say, just leave her alone. She's in her own happy place. All right, so now 2 corners on this are done. So for those who thought that this looked like a really tough leader-ender project, it's not at all. In fact, they mount up pretty quickly. Okay, this one's ready to sew in rows. I did some fabric substitutions. It really needs, each block needs 6 half-square triangle pairs, 2 corners and 1 center. And if the strip wasn't long enough to cut me the 2 corners along with the 6 half-square triangles, I just found another neutral that was kind of similar and used it anyway. My objective was to get the fabric gone. So there are some blocks that have more than 1 neutral in them. Let me see, I thought I had, is there one here that I can show you? Yeah, like this one. I really wanted to use the butterfly print, but I only had enough just for the half-square triangles, so I used a different black-white for the corners. I think it's all going to blend just fine, and it'll make it a little bit more fun even. All right, one more seam and this is done. I really like the old bandana print, and I think this is probably from 1980 something, but it really works up nice in a block. Okay, here's another lozenge ready to go in the pile. 4 corners on. This is like an African fabric, or maybe it's an Australian Aborigine one. I can't remember. But really, really fun to use those bits. Okay. Kathleen Fry says, working on a row quilt. And she sent a picture. It's from Quilt Maker pattern collection called America the Beautiful. And it's got everything from eagles to mountains to trees to ocean on there. So that's a really pretty one. That would be a great one to work with your scraps because you're sorting by color family. So anywhere that blue goes, whatever blue could go, that would be gorgeous. Can't wait to see that one. And Kevin says, hey, I work on marking squares and reading Bonnie Hunter books in between my duties on the plane. So I can picture you in the back of the plane drawing squares. Kevin, you're going to have to get you a silver jelly roll pen. It's the bomb. Serious. Let's see, in this one, oh, awesome. He's working on his borders for Santa Fe String Star. So these are the flying geese coming from Kevin the Quilter. Awesome. You guys are busy. It's so fun to be here with you guys tonight. Oh, and Kathy says, yes, he does do the dishes with help from the dishwasher. Hey, if he at least loads it and empties it, that's half the battle. Ness says, you're on. Good job. Hi from Wyoming. Going to start putting together an Emery's quilt. You are cracking me up. We would have stayed trying to read your lips. You know, just like the old Charlie Chaplin movie, only this is the quilting version. This one is a text. Oh yeah, it is a baby quilt by request. Aha, okay. Let's see, how do I get out of here? Some people's emails come as a attached text message to an email. So that was from area code 479. And it says no text body. Oh, here it is. Oh, how pretty. I love the polka dots. So we have 1,000 pyramids going on here for a baby. Isn't that pretty? Love it. It's fun to see how all of the old traditional quilts are really making a comeback. Equilateral triangles are not a modern thing. They go all the way back to the beginning of quilt making, and all of these Dresden plates and fans and curved piecing and whatever, the double wedding rings and things. It's not a modern thing. It's a comeback, and it's a wonderful resurgence. It's a happy comeback. Can you guys see the quilt that's behind me back here? I'm going to get a good picture of it tomorrow. I wanted to get a good picture of it today, but it was raining out. This is a top that I bought at a yard sale, probably in the mid 1980s, and I think at the time I paid $20 for it, and that was, I mean, that was all the money I had, $20 at that time. And it's one of those curved piecing ones that's making a comeback as being called modern, but this one was made in the 1950s, maybe some of the 1960s fabrics, but most of them are 1950s in there, and I want to get it quilted and put it on the bed. It's for spring, maybe for next spring, but it's got wonderful old 1950s dress fabrics in it, so it's, some of them are so ugly they're wonderful, you know? You just love it. So I'm really excited to see all of these old tried and true things getting a new life and coming back as, oh yeah, modern, but not. Okay. Karen, Mrs. C says, listening to you and playing with my new, just got her today, Necky Supernova Ultra. She's pink and white and has all the attachments plus the original bill of sale. She was sold in August of 1959 to a lady named Patricia, so I'm going to call her Peppermint Patty. Do you piece on yours? And if yes, do you use an aftermarket foot or one that came with it? It's good to see you on Quilt-Cam. I can't always join you, so it was a pleasant surprise, and that's Karen in San Diego. I've done a little bit of both. The Necky Supernovas are a high shank machine, and so I bought a high shank ankle. So it's just the ankle part, and then I bought a Janome Clearview Easy snap-on 1/4 inch foot, and that's what I use for my piecing on it. The thing about the Necky that I don't like for piecing as much, and that goes for any zigzag machine. I'm not crazy about any zigzag machine for piecing, is that the feed dogs are just too far apart to get a good 1/4 inch seam. I like to have my seam guide go next to the presser foot, and if the foot is wider than a 1/4 inch, or if the guide is going to cover up my feed dogs, part of the feed dogs, you can't do that. You can only put the guide in front of the feed dogs. I prefer a straight stitch only machine for my piecing. I use my zigzag machine if I'm going to do machine applique or repair something with a zigzag stitch. Heaven forbid I ever need to do buttonholes, but I like to stick to machines that just straight stitch with very, very narrow feed dogs, and I get the best piecing that way. But I have two Supernovas, and I do love them, and they do come out to play, and I love to use them, especially when I'm joining pieces of batting together. I use a zigzag stitch, and they do a beautiful job, so they get a workout whenever I'm piecing battings. Okay, Karen Mill says, perfect phone stand to watch Quilt-Cam while sewing along, and she's got us she's got us right there on her featherweight on her phone. Perfect. Perfect. Let's see. Looks, and I can tell from the block, it almost looks like you are making what was the Christmas lights mystery that we did. Let's see. This one is, I'm going to scooch a little bit further down. Lori Collins says, yay, Quilt-Cam, I'm working on crumb blocks. Question for you. What do you do to kit projects? I will be attending a retreat for the first time this November, so thinking that putting a kit together of stuff to work on would be a good idea. This is my kit. What a kit means is that everything I need for every block is already here and cut out. Center square, 6 sets of half square triangles, already right sides together, and 2 corner squares. This is one set. So I would make sets of each block and have all the pieces cut. You can put each block in its own little individual Ziploc sandwich bag if you want to, or you can I just stack them. They're just stacked here in stacks in the big Ziploc bag. And I'm doing over 100 of these blocks So you can imagine that I could sew for quite a long time on just the pieces that are here. What's nice is that I won't have to occupy cutting table space so that other people can cut. I won't have to occupy ironing yardage and stuff to cut strips before I can start. I like to have everything cut up and ready to go so that when I am at retreat, I'm sitting and I'm sewing and I am cranking out blocks, and all of that riffraff stuff that I could have done at home was done at home, so that my production time happens at retreat. Not my, oh, I guess I need to iron 20 fat quarters and decide what I'm going to cut from them. I don't want to spend my retreat at a cutting table or at an ironing board. So you decide how far ahead you want to get, but I love having all of the blocks already cut and ready to go. Okay. Margaret says, first time Quilt-Cam emailer. It's not scrappy, but I want to share my second finished quilt top ever, a hand-piece charm square baby quilt from a pattern by Amy Smart, and she's got it here. Let's pop that photo up here. Oh, that's adorable. So she's got the charm squares set on point with white, and it looks like she's going to trim up her sashings here next step and get that put together. Isn't that adorable? That is really a great idea for a baby quilt. Super. And this one is from Patsy, who says, sorry that I can't attend Quilt-Cam tonight. I'm on vacation in the South Dakota Badlands. I took your advice and made a busy bag for my trip. It came in handy since the first part of my flight was without windows. Hexies all the way. Oh my goodness! And she sent a picture. Yeah, she's got that wonderful window seat with no windows. I've had that same seat. But you know, once you're in the sky and you've seen a little bit of clouds or a little bit of whatever, there's not a whole lot to look at, especially if it's a cloudy day and you're just looking at the clouds from above. I just shut the window after that. That is adorable. What a great photo. Okay, and this one, here's from our guest book. Our guest book's also been busy tonight. This one's from Tartan, who says, I'm a fairly new no, this is from Tina, who says, I'm a fairly new quilter and have been buying pre-cuts and exact amounts for my quilts. How much extra do you buy when working on a project to have scraps for leaders and enders? That depends. I've only ever bought pre-cuts a couple of times. Like when a jelly roll was half price and I just thought that I might want to add it to my strip stash, but I don't make projects from pre-cuts. I don't. I just prefer to mix and match my own fabrics. I want my quilts to be more of a reflection of me and who I am and how I put things together than have somebody look at my quilt and say, oh, that's so-and-so's quilt, or oh, that's a you know, an Amy Butler, or that's a whatever designer you want to pull out at the top of your head. I want my quilts to be a Bonnie Hunter quilt. So what would I buy if I were buying yardage? I'd say at least a quarter yard more. If you want to start to build your stash and you're working with yardage and kits or whatever, you're buying fabric just for that project, add a quarter of a yard and start to build the stash that you can work from. My scrap stash is mostly one of two things. Either it's a value, which means it's going to be a dark or a light, and I'm not worried about color, or it's a color family, and I will choose, oh, let's do a quilt with 100 different reds and 100 different blues and a bunch of different neutrals as the background. I've got a red and white and blue quilt, but there's no limit to the number of fabrics that you can use in those colorways. And to me, that makes a quilt very exciting, and it holds my interest as I work on the project. If I were to make a quilt that had 47 blocks and they were all identical or all out of the same fabric line, where you've got a print that is repeated 4 different times in that collection in 4 different colorways, but it's the same print, I'm just not as happy. And I think that you're probably ready to move beyond that too. So what I would do is just add a quarter a yard to your yardage requirement, and then just stash that back. And you will build your scrap stash before you know it. You will have enough. And it's a lot of fun, and I'm really glad that you could tune in with us tonight. Here's Jan, who says, we can hear you in Phoenix. What are your thoughts on a scant 1/4 inch? I keep reading things on Facebook that we should be using a scant and not a regular. I don't measure my seam allowance. I measure my unit. So the answer to scant is whatever it takes to get the job done. It's one of those things that will always vary, dependent upon the thickness of your fabric, or the thickness of your thread, or the combination of both of those. If you were to sew a perfect 1/4 inch every time, but the thickness of your fabric and thread changed, you'd end up still with different sizes of units. So I sew my seam, open my unit, press it to the dark, measure the unit. The unit size needs to come out what size that unit size needs to be. If my unit is too big, I know that my seam allowance needs to be a little bit fatter. So that's not a scant, that's a hefty. If my unit is too small, let's say I'm trying to have these triangle squares measure 2½ inches before being sewn into the quilt, and I'm coming out at 2 3/8, well then yeah, I'm going to need to scant. But scant is not a finite number. You can't say, oh yes, this is scant, because it may change depending on whether you're sewing with flannel or homespun or batik or Liberty Lawn or Kona solids or whatever it is, and the thread that you're using does come into play. So sew your unit, press it to the dark, and measure. That measurement will tell you, are you on the money, or do you need to fatten it up a bit, or do you need to skinny it down a bit? The scant is kind of like, how much salt do you need to put in your pot of soup? You got to taste it first. You got to know, and the amount of salt you use may vary depending on the other ingredients in the soup. So that's my lecture on seam allowance tonight. Here is oh, we're back down into the sound files there, where everybody was saying no sound, no sound. I know we have sound. Valerie says, I made my first Floribunda block today, and I'm madly cutting pieces while listening to you this evening. Can't wait to make more. Such a happy, pretty quilt. And so easy. Thanks for Quilt-Cam, even though you weren't tip-top today. You're welcome. Last night had a tough sleeping night after a long day of flight and layovers in Atlanta that got delayed, and then sitting on the plane for an hour before we were able to take off. Ladies and gentlemen, we're number 20 for takeoff. You know, oh jeez. So it was a dinner. We went out to dinner. Dinner didn't settle well. Went to bed early. Woke up at 2:30 a.m. Bad tummy. Bad tummy. So we're feeling much better. Feeling much better today. Okay, and you will find the Floribunda pattern under the free patterns tab at the top of the blog. Mary Dowell says, we have not all left. We knew you would get the sound fixed. Awesome. And she also says, thanks for drawing my name yesterday. I'm so glad Quilt-Cam is on tonight. I am working on applique for a wall hanging while watching you. And her copy of 100 Blocks, the quilts from 100 Blocks, went out today. So that's on its way. Mark Hay says, I am able to hear you now, and you must have gotten a new camera, or is it where you have it focused up close because you and your space are so clear on the screen? I have no idea what is going on with this camera. It's had no sound earlier, and now the picture is big, so who knows. She says, thanks for having Quilt-Cam. I am sewing on my Dressmaker 30 Deluxe, working on your Carolina chain blocks and loving them. Here's a picture of my squares that I have so far. And she's got her machine right down there. Okay, terrific. Beautiful. Here's Mary on modern, and she says, our guild, Proper Bostonians, had a modern quilt challenge this summer. Here's one of my entries. It was fun to do. Thanks for Quilt-Cam tonight, and this is Mary in Boston. And she says, oh my gosh, it's scissors! How cool is that, Mary? It's all, is it squares? Yep, it is. It's all squares. So she's got a big pair of scissors on a lots of fun neutral backgrounds. I guess that's what you would call low volume. But to me, it's still just a bunch of mass and neutrals. That's awesome. Terrific. Well, everybody, I hear upstairs footsteps, which means tennis is over, which means hot tub is waiting, which means I've done all the sewing I can do tonight. So if it's still early where you are, yes, we missed a few minutes of Quilt-Cam with getting the feed fixed and getting our audio back to where it needed to be. keep sewing. Don't stop just because I'm done. But it is about 10:30 here in Quiltville, and the Sandman is calling me. I am have tomorrow at home to get my stuff packed and ready for both Alaska and for New York. Wednesday morning I fly out. I hope that you'll stay tuned with me and check the blog for updates of what's going on with that fun time ahead. When I am in New York, I've been offered to take a tour of the museum there, and to see the antique quilts in the collection. I get to go white glove, and I'm really excited, and hopefully they'll let me take a lot of pictures of the antique quilts to share with you. And when I'm in Alaska, of course, I'd love to do some hiking and stuff like that. So who knows what photos will be coming your way. In the meantime, keep sewing up the scraps. I'm Bonnie Hunter from the basement. We'll see you next time on Quilt-Cam. Bye-bye, everybody.